honestly helped me find my voice. It helped me learn to give my opinion, to have a confident voice, to not be afraid to say what I felt and how I thought.
It represents a skill that everybody should really have, the ability to speak in public, the ability to articulate, and so on. You can talk in public, you'll be able to do a lot of things.
We live in a persuasion-driven society. If it was important in 1913, it is super important in 2013.
I had this wonderful young teacher at my high school who looked like he was 15, was really 19, came to our class, my civics class in my freshman year, and sponsored a contest, and then he took me to Neosho. I won in the class, he took me to Neosho, and I went up against 2 juniors and 2 seniors as a freshman, tied for second, and that was the start. I grew up on a little rocky farm in southwest Missouri, and it was a farm without running water or electricity or any of those nice things. We never missed a meal. My father always had food on the table. He was not a very well-educated man, but he knew how to manage his money. But in terms of anything that was educational, the money seemed to be there. I remember that when I had to go in debate tournaments in high school, we had to pay our own way, and it was like $20, and the $20 bill was always there. And in later life, I found out that was 1 week's milk check. And he always had it. He said, that's a learning you something.
I've had so many students come back and say that my whole attitude, my whole life, everything changed because of forensics.
I think we're very unique and very special. And it's really hard to explain to you what makes us so unique and so special. It's the feeling. It's the feeling that when students go into competition or when we're at the national tournament, that everybody's rooting for each other, that there's a camaraderie there, there's a friendship, there's a connection.
This is a new century. As we celebrate our 100 years of existence, we are embarking on a very new and exciting course. My hope is that in the effort to move forward into our new relationships, to redefine ourselves for the 21st century, we don't lose track of where we came from and what our core values are.
The thing is, I think it gives you a relationship with students you can't get any other way.
That's the neatest thing about what we do. I think the most epistemic aspects of our activity is not what happens in the tournament environment, but it's what happens on the van and in the hotel room and in the practice sessions, traveling with people you've never met before, learning about different cultures, learning about different experiences. A liberal meeting a conservative, a Catholic meeting an atheist, whatever those experiences might be. That's the neatest thing about what we do.
You meet people that you would never meet otherwise. I mean, we're from completely different regions geographically. I would never be able to meet people like this fine gentleman if we didn't have tournaments like this. And there's 84 schools here, and it's just amazing to meet so many new people, so many new ideas.
And it's also the level of competition. Like no other tournament, especially national tournament, you can go to and have this level of competition, but it's also a sense of friendship and building each other up and supporting each other, but yet we're competitive. And so that also brings a nice feeling, atmosphere.
I enjoyed coaching for several years as an opportunity to teach in probably the most intimate setting that one could possibly teach students who were some of the very best students that I've ever had. And so just that relationship that participation in forensics made possible was something that was a strong magnet to me and that kept me at it for quite some time.
It's obviously the central act of being human. If you don't communicate, the thing you and I regard as central to our humanity is gone.
Whether you are an oral interpretation performer, whether you are a public address speaker, whether you are a debater, you can do all of those things.
And forensics, once it gets in your blood, it's really hard to get rid of.
I don't know what would have happened to me if I had not had debate. I might not have gone to college.
My entire career path and life path would have been completely different.
There are so many pieces of evidence that show that participation in speech and debate is one of those factors that students point to after the fact and say, wow, that was a real meaningful part of my education.
The thing that we take away, I think, is something that lasts a lifetime.
What got me interested in it? Well, it's hard to go back and say. It was strong encouragement from teachers who said, well, this is something you'd be good at and it'd be good for you to do. And then additional rationales kind of developed along the way.
I think competitive debate has changed. I guess the easy answer is in its specialization, at least in an academic sense. When debate started, there were very few events. Even with individual events, there were very few events in which people could participate.
But now there's a lot more variety in things that people can do in various streams. So I think that's probably a good thing. That people can pick the program that fits their mission and goals.
Then, of course, there are all those things that people are going to identify as changes because they remember their own experience, perhaps through rose-colored glasses. Like, well, people talk fast today and they didn't used to, or they use much more evidence than they used to, and so on. And there's some truth to those things, but they're also, I believe, glazed over by a kind of nostalgia about one's own experience.
So really it's changed a lot, but at the core, at the heart of us, we're still doing the same thing.
We're bridging important relationships with the high school forensic community. We are sort of recognizing and celebrating the core of who we are and the traditions that have helped us sustain us, but we're also doing some new and exciting things.
What I see as mission central is to hold on to traditions that mean so much to people, but help us grow the organization, change the organization where necessary, and keep us a living and growing organization.
It's a good time to remind ourselves what those core values are as we look forward to the new adventure.
One of the things that we know is that students, particularly long after they're out of debate and speech, think back and say, wow, that was one of the most important and meaningful experiences of my life.